All right, my name's Trent Zimmermann, and this is your 20-minute Annuity Tuesday. I'm the annuity director here at BG Insurance, a top general agency working with independent agents, financial advisors, and other insurance licensed professionals on life insurance, long-term care, annuities, and disability. I have a bachelor's with an economics focus, a master's in finance, and my chartered financial consultant certification and chartered life insurance underwriter certification as well. And this week we're talking about client profiles that could benefit from an annuity. I am going to start off with a subject that is pertinent because not only has somebody on this webinar asked me about this, but it seems to be a major piece that's played out over the last 2, 3 weeks, especially as some of these bonus annuities that were sold over the last 3 years are having a couple of um, anniversaries, and they're seeing the statements and they're seeing zero returns. A few things I want to cover before we dive in. One is if you're having annuities um, coming up for renewal and you have a chance to reallocate and they're not yet out of surrender or the surrender is onerous, make sure they are not in volatility controlled indexes. When you're looking at the top 10 and worst 10 indexes, the bottom 10 consistently are those volatility control, especially the proprietary ones. The second piece is those surrender charges. They are going to be a lot larger on policies with market value adjustment because they don't have to disclose that as a surrender charge. Um, and they're going to be a lot larger with bonus products because they're going to have a bonus clawback. And so one of the questions that's come up is renewal rates inside and outside of surrender. Inside surrender, there are a lot of companies out there, especially those that are owned by private equity, that design marketing rates. Really good cap and par in year one. And it looks really great when they pair it with the volatility control index. And then it just tanks every year after that. So make sure you're in equity indexes, especially um, if you're locked into one of those contracts. If there's outside surrender value, and I know I just had a conversation with somebody on this call about this, but got to speak with an actuary over at Allianz about how they design these, and it's all designed around hedging and buying up long-term treasuries and bonds that will last the same horizon as your annuity, and then using that to fund the options budget. They don't make excess returns from the indexes. They actually just make a fixed fee from those guaranteed returns. Uh, and so if we're looking at that, you leave surrender value and now you're in the just 1 year tranches instead of 5, 7, 10. And so if you have somebody who's out of surrender, start looking at where you can place that business next so that they'll have a higher cap and par moving forward from here. Uh, if they are above the age of 85, then that's going to be tough. But below that, it's very easy to keep moving them through. And we're going to talk later in another session about how to ladder those. Actually, that's one of the topics I have in the poll for next week. But this week, we're just going to be focusing on client profiles that could benefit from an annuity. Now, if you were on last week's, you're going to know there is a number. This is one of the softwares that we use to analyze a retirement plan. And this is a real life case that somebody was looking to pull out $55,000 a year from their portfolio. That was just over the 4% rule. And there is a number that we were able to create of annuitized income that produces out $37,000 a year. In this case, that at the end of their life, uh, they were more likely to have a higher terminal portfolio value, higher value in their portfolio than without the annuity. In all four of these back tests and in a Monte Carlo analysis, over 80% of the time. And in a Monte Carlo analysis, the chance of complete portfolio depletion before death was less than 1%. So if we're looking at client profiles that could use an annuity, we've seen this with high net worth individuals and low net worth individuals, and that number is flexible. But we have seen that there is a number that benefits from this. Now, this is information we've outlined. You've seen this slide before if you've been joining us, that the core expenses are covered. The chance of Monte Carlo analysis depletion is less than 1%, over 75% of the time with historical bad tests show greater terminal portfolio size. Again, if you Monte Carlo, it's greater than 80%, and eliminates core concerns. But what that means is it's a large range that these can exist in, and you dial in on that range based off of what their concerns are and what their core expenses are as well. And why is this? Because with assets under management, you have unknown growth or loss, and the safe income payout is 4%. And safe is in quotes because that is really dependent on the first few years of retirement and the last few years of your working age. Whereas annuity, you're going to get guaranteed roll-up growth, different than your account growth, roll-up growth of your income of between 6 to 12% and guaranteed income payment of 7 to 8.5%. Again, these are generalities. When you look at companies that offer these massive bonuses, 45% into your income bucket, that's just a way to solve for the math problem. It's not money that you're going to see, and when you see it stack up in the quotes for against other annuity companies producing income, and it's off by only $100 a month, even though one has a 45% upfront bonus, that just goes to show these are just different ways to solve the problem. And how can they get more money in uh, the income bucket earlier so that maybe it favors people early on in their payout structure. And so they look good for a different portfolio of people that they want to go after. But when we compare these, we're looking at the major risk is sequence of return risk. And in each of these scenarios of the historical backtest, we're looking at the same two time periods inverted. Mr. Red is going to start with a bad sequence of return. Mr. Green is going to start with a good sequence of return. And we can see even in the favorable side of 1998 to 2024, where Mr. Red finishes with 2.2 million, Mr. Green finishes with almost double that of 4 million. Now, if we look at 2000 to 2024, we're looking at Mr. Red finishing with just under 500,000 by age 85, and Mr. Green finishing with 2.7 million. And so that 85-year-old in Mr. Red scenario may not have much income left to pull from. So this also doesn't take into account one major piece, and the astute among you will see it, that at age 73, you're going to have RMDs to contend with. And after age 75, that's going to exceed the safe money uh, payout of 4%. Uh, so really what we're saying is it takes two. It's going to take assets under management or brokerage accounts and an annuity to create an effective retirement plan. So the argument that could be made, and I could end this webinar right here, is everyone can benefit from annuity, but I'm not that crazy of a person. I don't think that is a true statement whatsoever. I don't think it's genuine of me to say that. And I think it's adverse to your clients to put that out that everyone can benefit from an annuity. We just need to find your amount because people with small portfolios need a larger amount of annuitized income. But what that means is that small amount of money they have, more of it's going to be locked up, giving them less flexibility. And does that actually benefit from them? And you're talking large, high net worth individuals need a small amount of guaranteed income. But is that something they want to even do? Uh, does that lock up too much money for future investment opportunities? Does that ruin their plan of trying to move money out of their estate? And preserving their estate is actually disadvantageous to them. And then you have everything in between of fear of insurance companies, bad history with annuities, thinking they're going to be in the 25% that does better in this, um, or having advisors that are working against you. There's a plethora of reasons why not to, even if on paper it could work for everyone. And so I do not want you to walk away from this slide here, hang up leave the camera and say, I'm going to sell an annuity every single person. It's really an individual entity. But I do want to highlight six profiles that could benefit that you can pull out and possibly turn into some sales within the next week, or just opportunities for sales. I doubt we're going to get through suitability in that time. But first one we're starting off with is Richard Ray, ready to retire. I thought alliterations would be fun, but it's a little hard for me to get them all out. So he has a plan in place to retire, doesn't want to wait. So, in his situation, a bad sequence of return early in retirement or losses right before retirement would cause change or delays in his plan. Um, and him being all in cash would be a large opportunity cost loss for him because he'd be missing out on gains that could compound. And without those, it could prevent his fund from keeping up with inflation. So annuities in his case could be a bridge to retirement where he won't lose money. You protect that principal, and then you get gain, whether that's guaranteed gain or capped gain that could outperform it. And he could also go through a process of systematically de-risking his portfolio, where he just takes out small tranches at a time that he needs to prepare for his next stage in retirement so that they cannot lose money and they can have growth that's usually going to tend to be smaller than the market, but at least there's no risk of loss or sequence of return. And this goes to the Warren Buffett adage that why risk what you already have for something you don't need. Um, and so in this case, a ladder design as well could provide less risk of renewal rates. So if he were to dump everything tomorrow into an annuity, which I think is a terrible plan to dump 100% of your retirement portfolio into an annuity, even if he did, what happens 5 years from now if he's in a MYGA, multi-year guaranteed annuity, and he leaves and the rates are down? What happens if he's in a 7-year fixed index annuity and the rates are down? And now he can't get a good cap and par rate and he can't get a good guaranteed rate. So he can ladder those out to have different surrender periods so that he loses some of that risk. So what's he looking for? He's looking for MYGAs or accumulation FIAs. Avery afraid of spending. This is the amazing saver, terrible spender. Highly fearful of running out of money in retirement. Does not allow herself to spend in retirement. And because of this, now her retirement accounts are ballooning. That seems like a good thing, but now she has this monumental RMD risk, required minimum distribution. And she might not be enjoying retirement to the fullest that she could be. And what's the point of being retired if you're not actually going to do something with it and enjoy that time? So providing that base level of income can encourage spending for a lot of individuals. And designing the income to be fully annuitized by 73 will be a massive offset to required minimum distributions. And laddering that income or doing some sort of non-guaranteed increasing income to help keep up with inflation can help encourage that spending and RMD offset uh, as she lives. And if there is excess income, if maybe she just doesn't have that many needs, doesn't have that much interest in doing things that cost money in retirement, and all this is doing is offsetting RMDs, at least that excess income can be put into a brokerage account where she's not having that ballooning RMD tidal wave coming. So for this is going to be a fixed index annuity. That's what the FIA is, if there's anyone new here, with a GLIR, guaranteed lifetime income rider, or a SPIA, which is a single premium and immediate annuity. And oftentimes it can be both of those tiered at different points in time in order to get some of that RMD offset risk. Carl Conservative. This one I think is a lot more common than we give it credit for. This is somebody who's lost a large amount of money, presumably in 2008, and has been conservative since. Has panic sold in each downturn and decides he only loses money in the market. So with a lot of the advisors we talked to, I found that this has been a much more common profile than I've ever given it credit to. And we know that the top 10 best days in the market are within 2 days of the worst 10 days. of the market. And if you cut out those top 10 best days, the market has barely kept up with inflation. So if you decide to panic sell anytime it's down, you're missing out on those top 10 days, you're missing out on the surrounding days. Are you actually keeping up with inflation? Presumably not. And so at some point, these people either decide to go all into cash or into CDs and treasuries. And what have we learned over the last couple of years? That treasuries and bond markets also have a similar downside risk. We've seen stocks and bonds tank at the same time. We saw a 30% decline in bond and treasury price in 2023, 2022 and 2023. It overlapped on those. And so there's still a good amount of risk to be had there. So the non-liquidity feature of the annuities can actually be a benefit for this person, especially being in a year-long point-to-point index or a 2 year, some up to five, that they're not able to panic sell anymore. They have to stay locked into the market. So they're going to take the upside, but that floor of 0% prevents them from taking the downside, or they just get the guaranteed rate. And now annuities will outperform their current portfolio, not only because they're not panic selling, but because MYGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities, have outperformed historically CDs. And fixed index annuities, according to LIMRA, across the market, whether you're in terrible volatility control indexes or good um, equity-based indexes with high cap and par rates. The average has been 6.88, which is higher than the historical average of treasury and bond returns. So you can outperform. I'm not going to promise you are if you put your money into a bad index with a bad company with a bad history of renewal rates, you're not going to outperform that. But on average, it'll outperform the current portfolio and then provides more upside while assuaging fears. And so this is like we talked about, MYGAs, multi-year guaranteed annuities and accumulation FIAs. And I would recommend ones that are not private equity owned, ones that are mutual companies that are going to have honor their commitments to the clients. And then what we talked about early on in this session is you got to be on top of renewals with those. You got to be switching them over, or else they're going to be entering that 1 year bucket, and that's not going to be advantageous to them. And especially in MYGAs, you got to be careful with these because they can automatically roll over into a new surrender period, and oftentimes you're not getting paid for that, and it's not as high as the current rate. Our business seller never built a retirement fund because of her investment in the company, and then her income level. She was out earning the amount that she could put in to offset that kind of income return she would need, and offset those years that she wasn't putting money in. So selling the company will create a large windfall that must last through retirement and replace the loss of income. So putting percentage of proceeds to fund an annuity to replace that income and whatever retirement fund she does have, preserving that can act as a tax advantage discretionary spending fund instead of going straight to the brokerage account where that uh, those proceeds live. You can preserve that retirement fund for discretionary spending by creating a large amount of guaranteed income, and now that brokerage account that has the funds from the sale can get aggressive and grow. So that's going to be a fixed index annuity with that guaranteed lifetime income rider. Al, aggressive, this seems counterintuitive. You might look at this and say, why would he ever want an annuity? Because this is the type of person that sees the value of being aggressive and staying in the market, never wants to pull money out in a down year, wants to double down actually on a down year, and hates the idea of systematically de-risking or hedging because that's going to affect his gains. So baseline income means he's never having to sell in a down year. And if we can raise that baseline, we can actually maybe create some excess income that he can throw back into his brokerage account from his retirement account and offset those required minimum distributions. And having low to no sequence of return risk that affects his retirement means he can be more aggressive in his investing. He doesn't have to do a standard 60-40 split. He can get more aggressive with his investments. And as soon as that income is fully annuitized, he's living on alpha. That is all return on premium that he is getting. So even if, it's capped at a 7% uh, of what you can get from the S&P 500, 12 years in when he's living fully on annuitized income, all that is gain. Um, so an FIA with a guaranteed lifetime income rider can be a good benefit for him here, especially one with high cap par rate where you can see that this is actually growing. I do get a death benefit out of this. Finally, this is our last one. This is Linda longevity. Family has historically lived well over 90, likely to outlive her spouse, inherit assets, fear of outliving funds, or making the wrong move with lump sum. This is much more common with women, and especially um, in certain generations, they might not have as much experience managing those funds, especially if they were a stay-at-home mother. That's becoming less and less true. But there is a generation out there that they might not have that experience and might fear making a wrong move with the lump sum inheritance that they get from their spouse. So preparing a longevity insurance plan to maximize accumulation and roll up can be beneficial to them to provide them guaranteed income if they outlive their assets. And you can also create a long-term care buffer with the doubler if they're too old to buy long-term care or just asset-based long-term care insurance. And so this is going to be the fixed index annuity with a guaranteed lifetime income rider and income doubler would benefit this person. So there's your six profiles. I know we went 2 minutes over that could benefit from this. Again, when we've done this retirement software on God knows how many clients, we do see that there is a number that benefits quote unquote everyone. Does that mean this is good for everyone? No, of course I'm going to couch it in that. But here are six profiles that could immediately benefit from an annuity. There are more. There are calculations to find out where that belongs. But that's what I've got for you this week. That's your 20 minutes. Actually, that's your 22 minutes. I apologize, but I had to go on that rant earlier about renewal rates. Here's my information. Again, we do have the fact finder as a tool for you to help figure out what their needs will be for annuitized income. You can reach out to me via email or phone if you want to get that. And I'm going to launch the poll for next week's topic. We're looking at the red zone retirement strategy. AUM protection plan, and laddering annuities. So go ahead and get your vote in there. Um, and we will plan that for next week as well. Oh, let's see here. Oh, you're welcome. All right. Okay, I'm going to be honest with y'all. And you're going to forgive me. I was going to ignore whatever you guys said and do ladder annuities because I felt like that is such an important thing that I've needed to push that not enough people are doing. But 70% of the vote has come back for laddering annuities. So we're doing that anyways. So next week we're going to do ladder annuities. I can't tell you how many times I push that with advisors to reduce the risk for their clients. And I can count on one hand the amount of ladder annuity plans I've sold in the last year. So very excited for that one. I will see you all next week. If there's anything you need from me, you know where to reach me, phone or email. And if you need that fact finder, give me a ring. Thank you all.